all, I'd like to greet Professor Dhiman, Professor Mehta, Professor Panchal, and Professor Darshan Mehta ji, and all the other faculty and young students who are present today in today's event. I do hope that all of you are hale and hearty in spite of this difficult COVID-19 circumstances, and that all of you are practicing the advocated safeguards that have been advocated by your local institution, by your local health authorities, or by the local government. Indeed, we are living in unprecedented times. We are living during a time when a simple virus has paralyzed countries across the world. It has created grievous disruption to supply chains across the world. It has created grievous disruption to lives and livelihoods. And it has created national lockdowns under whose effect we are all still reeling. Of course, it has also affected the city of Surat and the neighboring areas, as you may all have experienced. At the same time, this COVID-19 virus has created a fear of uncertainty of what the future holds for us in a post-COVID-19 world and for other challenges that are lurking in the horizon. What about other global pandemics that may be around and which we are not aware of? What about issues related to climate change that we have always been talking about and which we are afraid of, but which we have not experienced the way we have experienced the COVID-19 crisis? What about nationalistic fervors that will grip various countries, preventing them from extending their supply chains to each other and thereby creating even more loss of economy, not only for themselves, but for the rest of the world? Indeed, these are the challenges that face all of us. But at the same time, I do want to share that for you all young students, there could not be a more exciting time than this to be able to unleash your imagination, your innovation, your ideas to create a new world order, to be able to address all these problems and challenges that we see, to be able to be the architects of the Aatmanirbhar Bharat that the Honorable Prime Minister has been talking about, to be able to create the world of your dreams. And why do I say this? Why do I say that the COVID-19 crisis is also a watershed moment in the history of the world and in the history of India? You all are realizing now that even in spite of the COVID-19 crisis, we probably, if this had struck us 10 years ago or 15 years ago, the impact on the world would have been very, very different than what we are seeing today. What we are seeing today is technology having come to the rescue of mitigating this crisis. And that is how you and I, and as Professor Dhiman rightly remarked at the beginning in his conversation with me, that in spite of the COVID-19 crisis, it has brought and unearthed new possibilities and new happenings and new opportunities for us to connect with each other, communicate with each other, and be able to bring the benefits of technology, which is advancing, which is affordable, which is accessible today, and which is available. And to bring the benefits of that technology to solve the problems that we see in and around the communities that we live in. Now, you are all young students who are participants of and who are the students of a very prestigious college, the SS Gandhi Government Engineering College. And engineers should be greatly appreciative of the opportunity that is there in front of us. But before I do that, I would also like to talk from an Indian context point of view. While we have many, many challenges in India, and what are the challenges? We are a country of 1.3 billion people. We have more than 650,000 villages in our country. We have more than 715 districts, and we have more than 8,000 small towns and cities in our country spread across the length and breadth of our nation. We have only 8 tier 1 cities in the country. Now that is clearly an unaffordable and an unsustainable proposition for a country of our size. We cannot have all the people from the various parts of the country flocking to these 8 tier 1 cities for their lives and livelihoods. What we need indeed is to create the 8,000 hubs of innovation and job creation that our 8,000 small towns and cities represent. What we need to create are 650,000 smart villages, 715 smart districts, and 8,000 small towns, smart towns and smart cities. Now, if you want to make them smart and if you want to create the infrastructure to be able to support the 1.3 billion people who are depending upon the youthful energy of this country, then we need to do things differently. We need to think different. We need to be creative. We need to be innovative. We need to be entrepreneurial. And therefore, my dear young students, this is the time for you to launch into a journey of innovation and entrepreneurship. This is the time when you should unleash your imagination and your creative thinking to be able to solve the problems that we see in our country. We still have 22% of our country below the poverty line. We have 44% of our country agri-economy based. We have 70% of the labor force of our country formally or informally associated with the MSME sector, the micro, small, medium enterprises, a number of which are there in Surat through your jewelry industry, through your textile industry, through your medical gas and industrial gas industries. These are all small, medium enterprises which need to be supported and which can become an exporter of their products and their services to the rest of the world. We need to ensure that out of the 715 districts, 115 of them are aspirational districts, which are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of basic access to healthcare, education, clean drinking water, sanitation, waste management, and so on. In fact, Surat is the second cleanest city of India. You need to be able to set a model of how you can take waste management and sanitation management to the rest of the country and show them the way of a Swachh Bharat. And in all of this, technology is going to play an important role. So what we need is to ensure that not only these 115 aspirational districts are lifted out of poverty, are lifted out of infant mortality, are lifted out of maternal mortality and infant stunting from their districts, but we also need to ensure that the remaining 650,000 villages and the 8,000 towns and cities become vibrant hubs of innovation and job creation. Now, that is why the Atal Innovation Mission was formed, to capitalize on three things that are happening in our country. While all of these are challenges that I have shared with you just a few minutes ago, the feel for India is one of optimism. We have what they call as a demographic dividend. Out of 1.3 billion people, 65% of our country is under 35 years old. Now that's a tremendous, energetic, youthful workforce available for our country. In fact, it is the envy of many other countries. All the other countries envy India because of this youthful energy. Because youth represents energy. Youth represents ideas, imagination. Youth represents the freedom to think and the ability to follow that thinking with innovations and implementations that can transform India and can transform the rest of the world. And you represent that youth, my dear young students. And you have therefore the opportunity of being empowered with the knowledge of the latest technologies and work with each other, team up with each other to be transformational leaders of the future. That is what the Mahatma Gandhi envisaged in our independent India. He said, be the change that you want to see. We cannot just say somebody else has to make the change. We should represent the change and we should be the change makers. And therefore, you young students have an opportunity to become the change maker. Now, when you look at the second part of India, and that is, it is one of the fastest growing economies of the world. It is a vibrant economy which has been growing at 6 to 8% every year, barring the COVID-19 year. In fact, it is poised to grow at 8 to 10% in the years ahead. It is already having an ambitious target of a $5 trillion economy. And we are well on our way there. And why do I say that we are well on our way there? We are already having more than 300 million people as a part of the middle class rising economy of this country. We'll be adding another 300 million people, which is roughly the size of the entire Europe and the size of the United States. We'll be adding that to our rising economy. Now that's an amazing opportunity for every one of you to tackle. Because with the growth of the economy will be the growth of demand. And with the growth of demand, there will be a need for entrepreneurial organizations and startups and innovative companies and unicorns and multinational companies to be satisfy that demand. So you have an enormous opportunity, and we should not let go of this opportunity for the rest of the world to capitalize on. And that's why the Honorable Prime Minister's call for Aatmanirbhar Bharat makes so much sense. How do we go vocal for local so that we can go global? That is the opportunity. Surat is a great example. Your diamond industry is already one of the largest exporters of the world. And you have some of the finest diamond cutting factories and some of the finest diamond merchants who are operating out of this particular land. Now, this can happen for every industry that we are targeting, because India has never lacked for great innovators, great engineers, great scientists, great philosophers, great doctors, great artists. You name it, India has always had them since the birth of the Indian civilization. We are a very old civilization. We are 5,000 years old. And therefore, innovation has been in our DNA of the country. Every one of you is a born innovator. You know, when you were born, nobody taught you how to walk, how to talk, but you looked at the world around you. You could not understand the rest of the world. You didn't know what they were speaking, but you saw the world around you. You stood up, you fell down, you stood up again, you fell down again. But every time you stood up, you innovated. And soon you started walking, soon you started running, soon you started participating in races, soon you started winning competitions. You were not able to talk, but soon you started talking by looking at the lips moving around you and the sounds coming out. You started emulating them. You found you were not doing the right thing. You innovated. You started speaking. You started singing. And today we cannot stop you from talking. Now that is the power of innovation. And every one of us, my dear student, every one of you has that innovative power. Innovation is not about you being a genius. Innovation is about being curious, looking at the world around you, identifying what are the problems that you see, not accepting the status quo, questioning everything as to can things become better? Can life become better? Any particular inhibiting thing that you see or any particular limitation that you see in and around your place where you live is an opportunity to innovate and to solve that problem, whether it is traffic management, whether it is water management, whether it is a leaking roof, whether it is shelter, or whether it is food distribution, or whether it is value addition, or whether it is jewelry or textiles. Everything represents an opportunity to innovate. But that innovation means curiosity leading to discovery, discovery leading to knowledge acquisition, knowledge acquisition leading to knowledge of tools and technologies to solve the problem, identification of a problem to solve, imagining a solution for the same, putting that imagination into paper and creating an action plan, and thereby creating an innovation, allowing that innovation to become into a product. And that product penetrates the market, and the market penetrates the customer. And from the customer, you go on to the global customer world. And soon, lo and behold, you have a unicorn, you have a global company, you have a multinational, which you have created. So my dear young students, you need to become the job creators of the future. Too long we have operated as job seekers. Every one of you is in the university is, I'm sure, aspiring that as soon as my program gets over in the university, I'll get a good job. I'll have work in Adani or in a diamond factory or in TCS or in Wipro and so on and so forth. But can you not imagine yourself to become a job creator instead of just a job seeker? Because we have that capability and we are part of a rising economy. And in a rising economy, you have the ability to fund new startups, enable the ecosystem for them to be able to thrive and to become vibrant and to be able to grow. The third thing that is coming to your advantage is the availability, accessibility, affordability of advanced technology. Technology is changing the very shape of the world that we are all living in. It is changing the way you are experiencing the world and the way the world is experiencing you. 3D printing is revolutionizing the way that you can conceptualize, design, prototype, and manufacture a product right in front of your eyes. In fact, 3D printing is very relevant for the MSME industry. From your small kirana store, from your small factory shop, from your home, you are able to, using a 3D printer, create some of the finest products or components of products that the world needs. IoT technology or the Internet of Things is now getting integrated. Sensory technologies are getting integrated into man, machine, device, soil, space. You're a civil engineering, the civil engineering people can see how to integrate smart buildings or smart housing or smart villages or smart districts, leveraging IoT technologies, leveraging sensor technologies. The farmer in the field uses sensor technologies to be able to get data regarding the soil. He is able to get data from the space using satellite imagery, and he is able to get data from the social media and communication networks and the internet about weather patterns and so on and so forth. And everything he's able to get on his hand in the form of a mobile. And then he or she is able to take the necessary action to improve the productivity of his farm, double the productivity, or take necessary precautions to avoid any disasters or climate change disasters. Now that's the power of technology. A country like Israel, which is in a desert, is exporting food. How? Because of precision agriculture. They use IoT technologies and satellite technologies and weather sensing technologies and computer technologies to be able to irrigate the right way, in the right manner, with the right amount of water for the right type of crop. In fact, that is called precision agriculture. Every crop has its own needs. And how do you ensure that the needs of that particular crop are being met and not any excess manure or any excess fertilizer or any excess water supply is wasted on that particular crop? Using precision agriculture, Israel is now exporting food products all over the world. Now imagine they're also exporting water bottles, drinking water. And how are they doing it? They're doing it through sensory technologies of gathering the moisture from the atmosphere and converting them into drinkable water. Isn't that amazing? If you can do that in a desert, what can you do in a country like India, which is so fertile, which is having rainwater and forest water and mountain water and various springs and climate seasons and rainy seasons? How do we ensure that we become the water supplier to the rest of the world, and not only to the rest of the world, but for our own country? And when we solve these problems, then we are solving local problems, as the Honorable Prime Minister says. And when we want to ensure that these local problems are solved, we become very vocal about local innovations. And when we become vocal about these local innovations, then there is an opportunity for taking these solutions and going to the global market. Because any problem that you solve for India is also a problem that is solved for the rest of the world. 1.3 billion people, when they get satisfied with a solution, how can not 7.8 billion people on the planet benefit from that solution? So my dear young students, you have a tremendous opportunity of leveraging these three things which are becoming very important. The demographic dividend that we all enjoy, and you represent that demographic dividend, the youthful energy in the nation, the convergence of a vibrant growing economy, which is required in order to have venture capital interests, investment capital, FDI flowing into our country, and available, affordable, accessible technology, which is enabling you to reimagine the world, create new solutions that the world didn't dream of for problems that we have today and for problems that we can anticipate tomorrow. And coupled with all of this, we are having new technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and robotics, and 5G communications, and wireless communications, and satellite communications, and nano computing, objective computing, or supercomputing, all becoming accessible to us. You know, artificial intelligence has been talked about for many, many years. When I was studying in IIT in 1981, we were talking about artificial intelligence, but never has artificial intelligence made more sense than now. It is a watershed moment for the implementation and the application of artificial intelligence in every solution that we can see, whether it is in transportation, whether it is in government to citizen services, whether it is in water management and water planning, whether it is in smart urban planning, the laying down of the roads, the laying down of the pipes, the electric grid, whether it is in electric mobility. All of these are opportunities for us to gather large amounts of data that we have in our country, to be able to process them at incredible speeds with supercomputing, nanocomputing data, to be able to communicate that data using 5G, wireless and fiber technologies instantly, and to use powerful big data analytics programs and programming to be able to create decisions out of these data that is collected. That's why artificial intelligence has become a reality. And India needs artificial intelligence. We need to ensure that every one of our cities, our districts, how do we ensure that we sell our products from Surat to Seattle? How do we ensure that from Sikkim to San Francisco? How do we ensure our products to go from Jodhpur to Japan or from Rajasthan to Russia? That is the opportunity, my dear young students, in front of you. And if we don't grab this opportunity for innovation and entrepreneurship, if we don't take it like a bull by the horns, it will be ours to lose, and others will come in from all over the world and take that opportunity. And that is why the call for Aatmanirbhar Bharat is so very important. The Aatmanirbhar Bharat talks about 5 pillars that the Honorable Prime Minister espoused. First is the pillar of demographic dividend that we talked about. But to use this demographic dividend, we need a lot of startups in education, edtech startups, distance learning startups, using artificial intelligence, new learning management systems, new ways of teaching the young people so that they become innovative, creative, and become the problem solvers of the future. That is why the Atal Innovation Mission has set up thousands of Atal Tinkering Labs, more than 10,000 tinkering labs across the 715 districts of our country. And more than 4 million young students between grade 6 to grade 12 are now having access to the latest of technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT, electronics, or augmented virtual reality do-it-yourself kits. With these do-it-yourself kits, they tinker, they play, they experiment, they get hands-on experience in creating solutions for problems they see in and around the community. They acquire a problem-solving, innovative mindset. Gone are the days where rote learning is going to help you. Rote learning helps you to get good marks, but doesn't help you to become a problem solver or an innovator. Of course, an innovator has also to be good in academics. It is not that you can be a good innovator without knowledge of the theory. You need to know and have excellent grasp of physics, chemistry, maths, biology, geography, history, and so on. But you need to back it up with the ability to create solutions for problems that we see. Education teaches us to become problem solvers and innovators. It cannot teach us to just get a degree. If the aim of education is to get a degree, and from that degree get a job, and do that job routinely throughout the rest of your life, the world will not progress. The world progresses by people who are able to make a difference, people who think differently, people who use the knowledge that they have gained to create solutions for new problems they see in and around themselves. As Steve Jobs said, our job in life should be to leave a ding in the universe. So can we all leave a ding in the universe? And how do we leave a ding in the universe? By becoming a startup, by becoming entrepreneurial, by creating new solutions for problems we see. That is why we have set up hundreds of incubators, world-class incubators called Atal incubators across the country. And Surat also has an Atal incubator in the Surat city. And I'm sure your engineering institution is going to soon have a world-class incubator, because any world-class university should have a world-class incubator. And a world-class incubator creates world-class startups. And why is an incubator required? Because a startup needs crucial help during its startup cycle. There are something called valleys of death in a startup's life cycle. And these valleys of death are because you plunge into this valley of death because you don't have the right technology access, the right research lab, the right mentoring support, the right venture capital support, the right business planning and strategy support, the right HR support, or the right internal system support. When you don't have this, you plunge into the valley of death. And the incubator helps you not to plunge into the valley of death, but creates those bridges between those valleys so that you can safely cross from one peak to another peak. And that is where an incubator in your organization is going to be very helpful, because they are going to help you within the first 2 years to be able to stand on your own feet. Just like the mother's womb protects the child for 9 months, and then the child comes out into the world and is then able to blossom and grow into a beautiful human being, so also an incubator in your university will help create and nurture the growth of a startup, which can then stand on its own legs within 2 years and then go out into the world and blossom into a beautiful company, a beautiful unicorn, or a company that makes an impact, leaves a ding in the universe. That is what, my dear young students, is the opportunity ahead of us. And we need to knock at this opportunity. We need to embrace this opportunity. We should become the change that we want to see. As the great Abdul Kalam said, we should dream big. If you dream big, you will achieve great things. If you dream small, you will be limited by your own dreams. And this was said by a man who came from the humble town of Rameshwaram, a small coastal district in Tamil Nadu, a district known for its temples, more for its temples and religious pilgrimage than anything else. Probably it has one school, one church, one mosque, one college. I do not know how many colleges are there, but there were thousands of fishing boats. And there was this train which crossed into that bridge, the Dhanushkodi bridge, and entered into Rameshwaram. And in this humble town, from this humble town came this extraordinary man, an ordinary man who dreamt extraordinarily big, who wanted to become a pilot. Sitting down on the fishing boats, he looked at the sky and he said, I want to become a pilot. I want to be able to fly aeroplanes. He didn't end up becoming a pilot, but he ended up becoming one of the missile scientists of India. And missiles travel a lot more faster and much more distances than aeroplanes do. And he became one of the finest human beings that the world has seen. He rose on to become the president of our country. Let us all take inspiration from such people. Let's take inspiration from the Abdul Kalams of the world, the Ramanujan, who came from a small, humble town of Kumbakonam, a land of temples. Let us also take inspiration from Satya Nadella, who has become the head of Microsoft, Sundar Pichai, the head of Google, Shantanu Narayan, the head of Adobe, and you have Arvind Krishna, the head of IBM. These are world-class global technology companies, and Indians are leading that. Let's take inspiration from all of them and dream big, because when we dream big, we achieve great things. And as the great Swami Vivekananda said, let's have extraordinary belief in ourselves, our ability to transform the world. He said, if you believe in 1,000 gods and goddesses but do not have belief in yourself, you are doomed. So let us all have belief in ourselves. That belief brings with it extraordinary energy and extraordinary capability. And your capability will come to the fore with such belief. But let's follow that belief with an action plan. Combine it with agility. Ability has to be combined with agility and an action plan to be able to result in achievements. And then let us, as Swami Vivekananda said, arise, awake, and stop not till our goals are reached. So let's arise to the challenges of Aatmanirbhar Bharat. But let's look upon these million challenges as a million opportunities for us to be able to solve and become entrepreneurial organizations. Let us all awaken in us the talent that is inherent in every one of you. Don't believe that you are lesser than anybody else. Don't go just by your marks that you're scoring in an exam. Look at what your heart tells you to do. Follow it with passion. Awaken that talent within you. And then let us stop not till the Aatmanirbhar Bharat goals of India are reached. Because in the pursuit of the Aatmanirbhar Bharat goals, we will also solve the problems of the rest of the world. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share a few thoughts on this particular occasion.